The Disappearance of Jimmy Hoffa in 1975. Hit subscribe, drop a like, and stay until the end, because this story doesn't just vanish, it disappears into American history. July 30th, 1975. The summer air over Bloomfield Township, Michigan, hung thick with humidity and tension. The sun had barely broken through the clouds when Jimmy Hoffa, the once untouchable leader of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, straightened his tie, locked his car door, and stepped toward the Machus Red Fox restaurant. To everyone else, it was just another Wednesday. But to Hoffa, it felt like Judgment Day. He was supposed to meet two powerful men, Anthony Tony Jack Giacalone and Anthony Tony Pro Provenzano, both connected to organized crime and old union alliances. Hoffa's comeback plan to reclaim leadership of the Teamsters wasn't just bold, it was dangerous. He had been out of prison for 4 years, pardoned by President Nixon, but he wasn't done. The union was his empire, and he wanted it back. The problem, the mafia didn't. At 2:30 p.m., Hoffa sat in the parking lot of the Red Fox restaurant in his maroon 1975 Mercury Marquise. He adjusted his gold watch and muttered under his breath, "They're late." He was angry, not just because of the delay, but because he didn't like being ignored. He made 2 phone calls, one to his wife, Josephine, and one to a close family friend, Louis Linteau. "They stood me up," Hoffa said. "I've been waiting over half an hour." It was the last time anyone ever heard his voice. By evening, the car was still in the same spot, unlocked and empty. His wallet, a single hair comb, and his favorite thermos of coffee were left behind. The man who once ran one of the most powerful labor unions in America, a man who could paralyze the nation's economy with one phone call, had simply vanished. When news broke that Hoffa was missing, it was chaos. Witnesses. Still, Hoffa's body was nowhere. No ransom, no demands, no proof of life. Meanwhile, America was transfixed. Nightly news anchors delivered updates with grim fascination. For years, Hoffa had been a symbol of both power and defiance, a man who built his empire through loyalty and fear. But now, even his enemies were asking the same question. How does someone like Hoffa disappear in broad daylight? Then came the first major break, a tip from an informant claiming Hoffa had been lured to a house near Detroit, executed, and cremated in a mob-controlled incinerator. The story spread like wildfire. The FBI raided several sites, including a garbage facility and a chemical plant. They found nothing. The mob's code of silence, omerta, held firm. Years later, Agent Sluss would recall one detail that still haunted him. "We found his car in perfect condition, clean, polished, and parked straight. It wasn't random. Whoever did this wanted us to see control, not chaos." By the end of the first week, hope turned into frustration. The FBI classified the case as a suspected kidnapping by organized crime. But with no body and no crime scene, they had nothing. Then came the twist no one expected. A blood-stained shovel found at a remote construction site, connected to a Teamsters-owned company. Samples were taken, tested, and matched. To no one. The blood didn't belong to Hoffa. It was a dead end. Or was it planted to distract investigators? As night fell on the 7th day, FBI agents stood under the yellow glow of floodlights, staring at the empty lot where Hoffa was last seen. "Somebody wanted this to be permanent," Agent Sluss muttered, and they succeeded. But what none of them knew, buried somewhere in Detroit's underworld, was that one man still held the key to Hoffa's disappearance. And before long, that secret would resurface. Violently. Before we go, one of the 2 Tonys Hoffa was supposed to meet. The deeper the FBI dug, the more they uncovered the same names over and over. Tony Giacalone, Tony Provenzano, and Chucky O'Brien. Each man denied any involvement. Provenzano even laughed during questioning. "You think I'd be stupid enough to whack Jimmy Hoffa? I'm in Jersey. Check the damn toll receipts." He wasn't lying, at least not entirely. His alibi was real, but his influence stretched far beyond state lines. Behind closed doors, The Teamsters union was falling into chaos. Hoffa's loyalists whispered about betrayal, while others moved to distance themselves. The mob wanted peace. Hoffa had wanted war. The two paths could never coexist. By mid-August, the FBI shifted focus. "Forget Hoffa," Agent Sluss told his team. "Follow the money." Bank records revealed a stunning detail. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in pension funds had been funneled into construction companies owned by mob fronts. Many of those same companies had worked closely with Hoffa, including the one whose yard the FBI had recently searched. The web was massive, connecting cities from Detroit to Chicago, Las Vegas, and even Washington, D.C. Every clue pointed to one thing: Jimmy Hoffa had become a liability to people who couldn't afford loose ends. Then, in a dramatic twist, a new informant, a low-level driver in the Giacalone crew, came forward. He claimed he had picked Hoffa up that day. "He got in the car. Seemed fine," the man said. "We drove off toward a house in northwest Detroit. Then I was told to leave." The address he gave was immediately raided. Inside, agents found cigarette butts, tire tracks, and a faint blood smear near the doorway. Forensics were inconclusive, but it was the first physical clue that matched Hoffa's timeline. Still, no body, no murder weapon, no witnesses willing to talk. The silence was deafening.
Break. And it came, nearly a decade later. In 1982, as developers broke ground on a warehouse near Detroit, a construction worker unearthed something strange. A section of concrete poured thicker than the rest, containing fragments of fabric and bone. Forensics teams rushed to the site. The tests were inconclusive, but the timing, the location, and the pattern matched one thing: Hoffa's timeline. Still, officially, the FBI declared Hoffa legally dead in 1982. Case closed. But to the people who knew him, and the agents who never gave up, it wasn't over. The shadows of the Teamsters, the mob, and the government's silence kept one truth buried. The man who disappeared may never be found, because too many people made sure of it. But then, years later, a secret recording would surface, one that would shake everything we thought we knew about Hoffa's fate. Before we unravel this final twist, hit subscribe, because what you're about to hear has haunted FBI vaults for decades and may reveal exactly what happened to Jimmy Hoffa. 14 years since Hoffa vanished, and his name was still whispered like a ghost story in union halls, mob bars, and FBI offices. The case had gone cold. Officially. Unofficially, it was still burning. Agent Andrew Sluss, now retired but unwilling to let go, sat in his cluttered basement surrounded by case files and coffee cups stained from years of obsession. To the FBI, the Hoffa case was history. To Sluss, it was unfinished business. He received a call one night. An unfamiliar voice, raspy and tired. "You don't know me," the man said, "but I was there." The line went silent for a second before the voice added, "Check the tape." Then the call cut off. 2 days later, a brown padded envelope arrived at a Detroit news station. No return address, no note. Inside, a small reel-to-reel audio tape and a photograph of a Weather East farmhouse outside Detroit. The same house investigators had searched years earlier on Beaverland Street. The label on the tape read, July 30th, 1975, 3:28 p.m. When the audio was played, it began with muffled voices. At least 3 men talking over the hum of traffic. Then came the unmistakable sound of Jimmy Hoffa's voice. Rough, impatient, commanding. "I waited over an hour. You said 2 o'clock sharp," he snapped. Another voice replied, calm and cold. "Plans change, Jimmy." A chair scraped. A door opened. Then, silence. The sound of movement, muffled words, and finally, a single sharp noise that could only be described as final. The station turned the tape over to the FBI. Within hours, agents reopened the case file. But there was a problem. The tape was authentic, yet incomplete. The last 30 seconds were missing, spliced cleanly out with precision. Someone wanted to tell part of the truth, but not all of it. Sluss came out of retirement to assist. When he listened to the recording, his expression didn't change. "It's him," he said quietly. "That's Hoffa. But this tape wasn't meant to expose. It was meant to warn." The voice on the tape that spoke after Hoffa's belonged, according to experts, to a man believed to be Frank Sheeran, the Irishman. Sheeran had been a trusted associate, a man Hoffa had mentored and considered loyal. Decades later, Sheeran would confess in a private memoir that he had been ordered to handle Hoffa, claiming he shot him in a Detroit house that same day. His story was controversial, dismissed by some, but chillingly close to what was heard on the tape. The new lead reignited media frenzy. Reporters swarmed old mob contacts, politicians, and union officials. Some denied everything, others disappeared from sight. One aging Teamsters official muttered to a journalist, "If they ever dig under that cement, they'll dig up the Yisat, country itself." The FBI combed through hundreds of hours of surveillance tapes, phone logs, and interviews. They discovered that in the weeks before Hoffa's disappearance, several high-rankings, mob figures had meetings across Michigan and Pennsylvania, meetings that aligned perfectly with Hoffa's last known movements. It wasn't coincidence, it was coordination. But every time agents got close, key witnesses recanted or vanished. One was found drowned in a lake, another fled the country, a third turned up in federal custody under a different name. The message was clear. The silence around Hoffa wasn't fear, it was enforced. By the 1990s, the FBI had a theory. Hoffa was lured to the Red Fox under the guise of peace negotiations. From there, he was taken by trusted faces, possibly Sheeran or O'Brien, to a nearby residence. He was killed quickly, and his body was either incinerated or buried in concrete beneath a construction site tied to the mob's control of the Teamsters pension fund. But without a body, the truth remained theory. Then came another twist. In 2004, during a federal investigation into mob money laundering, a contractor admitted under immunity that he had poured something strange at a Detroit warehouse site in August 1975. He said, "It wasn't a someone. It was a something. Wrapped tight, heavy as sin." He didn't ask questions, and he never saw it again. The FBI rushed to the location, now a trucking company lot. Ground-penetrating radar found anomalies beneath the concrete, but excavation proved too costly and politically risky. Once again, the truth sank beneath bureaucracy. But the recording continued to resurface, whispered about, copied, analyzed, but never officially acknowledged. Rumor had it that a copy had been sent to Hoffa's son, James P. Hoffa, who would later lead the same union his father once ruled. He never confirmed it. When asked in an interview if he believed the story, he paused and said, "My father didn't disappear. Someone made him disappear." In the end, Jimmy Hoffa's case became the blueprint for every high-profile disappearance since. A mix of power, silence, and fear that defined an era when the mob's reach extended into every corner of American life. The FBI spent millions, chased every rumor, and dug up everything from farmland to football stadiums. But the answer, the real answer, stayed hidden in plain sight. In 2013, the FBI conducted one last dig, based on a deathbed confession from a mob enforcer. He swore Hoffa was buried under a driveway in Oakland County, Michigan. They found nothing. When agents packed up, one turned to his partner and said, "It's like chasing a ghost that knows we're coming." And maybe that's what Hoffa became, a ghost of America's golden age of corruption, haunting the balance between crime and politics. His disappearance wasn't just about one man's ambition. It was about power being erased to protect an empire. As for Agent Sluss, he died in 2007 with the case file still on his nightstand, a note clipped to the top. He didn't vanish. He was buried by the truth. Nearly half a century later, no one knows where Jimmy Hoffa's body lies. But one thing remains certain. The men who made him disappear are long gone, and they took America's biggest secret to their graves. So, if you think this mystery is over, think again, because every few years, someone hears a rumor, digs up another patch of dirt, and wonders, is this the place where Jimmy Hoffa finally rests? If you thought this story was buried deep, you haven't seen how dark the next one goes. Hit subscribe, because the truth never stays hidden forever.